I said something out loud a few weeks ago that I can't take back. I'm writing my next book in public. Now, I've done a version of this in the past with my community, sharing snippets here and there, but never in the format that I'm doing now. Before I get to how I'm doing that, I'm going to back up a little bit and talk about the things that prompted this whole shift. As I neared the finish line of publishing Writing with the Moon that came out in May 2026, I reached a point that I know is very familiar to many authors. Like, you are just so sick of the book. You don't want to read it one more time. You just want it gone and out. I absolutely reached that point. I was ready to move on. And before I hit publish on that and the book went live, there was definitely something dropping in that said, your next book needs to be different. And here's the sense I had. Writing with the Moon, and even the book before that, Intuitive Writing, were quite safe books for me to write. And by safe, I mean that it didn't require a ton of personal digging or stories. Writing with the Moon only has one story, which I've told in places before about how I came to write and my stories through not writing. Those books didn't require a big vulnerability from me. Now, in some sense, they were not, quote, safe, unquote, books, because in my corporate communications work, in some of my copywriting work, speaking, some of the other stages I'm on, if you will, I don't talk about the moon. I don't talk about intuition. They're just words that don't fit into the work. However, a couple months leading up to finishing this book, I realized that I was splitting myself in at least two, maybe three places, being different and showing up different in different ways. And that's exhausting. I wanted to show up as one person, one message, the same throughout every project, every client, every arena I'm in, every book, everything I publish. Now, is there some nuance to that? Sure. I talk a little bit differently to my community than I do to a team of healthcare management consultants, if you will. We're talking about different things. So I show up a little bit differently. And the point was that I didn't want to hide these pieces anymore. And the book that I knew dropped in. It's been bubbling for a little while, and it started probably 2023, where these three words dropped in. I wrote them in my line a day journal, and it's a 5-year book, so it's easy to look back on. I'll have to look up the exact date. I'll do this for my book research, but I wrote down three words: medicine, woman, writer. Now, those three words are not a great brand name. It's not a great business name. It's definitely not marketable. And I didn't exactly know what that meant. Months and months later, I wrote down those three words on a stone that I keep in my office. And earlier in the year, around March, so around the welcome of Aries season and spring, where new things are coming to life and being born, I started to really get the pull to lean into that. And the messages started being reflected back at me, where I would get a text from a client, for instance, a new book coaching client. And she said, I don't know what it is. Your medicine, it just has the words flowing. And I saw it over and over again. There was this word, medicine. I'm like, okay. And then I knew it was something. I knew my next book needed to be a lot more personal. It needed to include stories, not just tips. And I think this is also where we are going. I think in some sense we're already there as a collective, especially with Uranus in Gemini, changing how we communicate, not just how we communicate, but what we communicate. When you can go to AI and get a list of tips to do anything, like give me the order to write a book, AI can do that for you. Now, I do have a book I'm writing on how to do that in a nonlinear fashion. I might end up writing that one at the same time, breaking all my rules. We'll talk about that in a second. But when you can go to AI for these tips, you can't go to AI for stories. And more, that is what I'm seeing my readers resonate with. That's what I'm seeing students in the intuitive writing school studio, my clients, when they share stories in newsletters, blogs, Substacks, in their books, that is what people are connecting with, not here's 10 tips. And to a lot of people, this is actually a huge relief because I work with a lot of coaches and consultants, and they're in that coaching consultant role so often that they don't want to be when they're writing. They just want to tell a story instead of having to button it up with a perfect little lesson for their reader, which is great news. You don't have to. Your story is enough. Your story is the lesson. Letting people get their own insight, take their own action from what you say in your story. It's such a relief. It might feel like a big exhale to you too. If it does, let me know. I definitely want to hear. So there's some more shifts happening astrologically. As you know, I'm not an astrologer. I do look at it as a framework. I do not let it rule my life. It is a way to fit things in and flow with. These are things happening anyway, so we can choose to work with them or not. So the North Node moved into Aquarius and the South Node into Leo. Natally, I have the opposite. My North Node is Leo and South is Aquarius. So where I'm going, like where I'm heading, my North Star is Leo, being able to speak and be on the stage and not need the community. And the difference here is that it's no longer sharing the safe, familiar version of how I've been a leader in the past, like my comfort zone. And it's stepping into the bolder, more first person, less curated Aquarius version. So it's really interesting that this is coming up around this time. And then I decided a couple weeks ago, I'm going to write this next book in public. And I think that embodies the energy perfectly. Now, I didn't know this information about the nodes going into this, as is almost always the case. I never know. I'm not looking ahead to astrology. I'm tuned in like a week at a time, basically, from the handful of astrologers that I follow. I'm not like looking ahead, like, okay, this is what's happening now. I'm going to do this. It's more like I am in the flow and these things are happening. And then I discover information that's usually a sign that I'm headed in the right direction. So this book is about medicine, and I don't fully know what that is yet. And writing it in public is a little scary because I don't know where it's going. I'm not announcing a finished idea. I don't have the book description. I don't even really know what it's about. I can tell you a few things of what I think it's about and what it's definitely not about and how I'm thinking about it, which I went into a lot of details on this on Substack. And it's actually available for my paid Substack subscribers only, which it's only $5 a month to watch the entire thing unfold. I'm sharing my actual drafts with you. How, where, and why I'm writing everything I'm writing. And it's not happening in a linear fashion. So if you're the type of person that wants to follow a plan to write your book A to Z, by all means, do that. You will not like what I'm doing. I'm throwing away all the advice I've ever used to write a book. I'm even throwing away how I suggest clients write books. This is a completely non-linear way of doing it. And by sharing it with readers as I go, I'm inviting everyone reading to share what lands for them, what's coming up, what they want to know more about. And then in that spirit of North Node Aquarius, I'm building it for the greater good. It's not just me. Now, this is also something that I've learned about myself as a Libra sun. So Libra is all about relationship. And my best writing and creating happens in relationship. Now, that doesn't mean that I need to like be in a relationship. I am. I've been married for 22 years, but it's not about that. I get ideas and insights from having one-on-one conversations in a small group with my community, with clients, with people in my life, with networking groups. That is how I learn to know what I even think. So this is how I am writing this book. And it is definitely bolder, more first person. This is like the whole thing behind it. Now, what is this book? What is it not? I know that it is about medicine and coming back to basics. The concept really started to unlock for me maybe about 2 months ago, where I intentionally simplified my eating. Now I'm plant-based and mostly gluten-free, so I eat pretty darn clean most of the time. But simplifying it was removing some foods, like taking soy off my plate for a little while and potato chips. Wasn't happy about that. And instead using herbs, more citrus, avoiding salt completely. And doing that opened a new level of presence in myself, a level that I don't know when the last time I tapped into it was. And I noticed it by the way my body responded to cooking. So simple. Chopping onions for dinner, I noticed my weight was not evenly distributed between my feet. I was breathing shallow, holding my breath at times, and my shoulders were up around my ears. Now I'm making dinner. There is no logical reason for doing this. And instead, as soon as I noticed this, I shifted, slowed down, reminding myself that I didn't need to think about the 20 other things that needed to happen after dinner was done, felt my breath, really paid attention to the thing I was chopping, and engaging all my sights in the cooking and being present. And that felt like the gateway to all the medicine. So, food is a gateway. It's about presence, intuition, embodied awareness. It's about the medicine woman path with food as an entry and not in the way of the woman sitting in a white robe on a mountaintop. It's about the practical way, taking away noise, how to tap into the power of your own medicine, but not in a tips way. It's by sharing how I'm doing it myself. It's not a cookbook. It's not a book about rules or anything like that. It's definitely not fully articulated, but some of the ways I've been describing this book when people ask about it is the medicine in the everyday, coming back to food, nature, and simple pleasures as a tool for slowing down, really being present, deepening insight and intuition. So this book is really the next true test of showing up as one person everywhere. It's no longer the corporate me writing behind the scenes for someone else in their voice. This is me. This is my real life doing the real work, like just me, the page in front of people. Now, every person listening now who's sitting on a book, a blog, a post, a launch, a rebrand, and perhaps is hiding it or keeping it back until it's, quote, perfect, which we know does not exist. I am showing you that I'm a little scared to do this. I don't have a strategy, even though this is my fifth book. So I know how to write a book. I'm doing it completely different. And I actually jumped in and wrote the introduction first, which is also the thing I usually recommend never doing. And that is what I let Substack paid subscribers read. So here's what you can expect as a listener. Substack is the home for the raw pages, no set schedule, probably weekly-ish, maybe more often. It might be voice memos, it might be notes, screenshots, a video, whatever is the best way to share the message that's coming across. I really see sharing this process as if you've ever sat in the kitchen with someone as they're cooking and you're having conversation with them, you might see an ingredient that's unfamiliar, like, hey, what is that? And they hand it to you, you get to taste it. Or they're making marinara sauce and they're like, here, taste this. Let me know what you think. So this is you sitting at the kitchen counter, tasting the food as I go, talking through how I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, having conversation about it, and even sharing the why, what's coming up, why I'm cooking this thing the way I'm cooking it. And by cooking, I mean writing. You're right there at my desk with me, beside me as I do it. This is the first time I've ever given this much access to anyone. So it is quite vulnerable. And you get to see the whole process unfold. So I invite you to come and watch this thing get made. You can find the link in the show notes or visit theintuitivewritingschool.com where you'll find a link to my Substack and sign up for the paid version. The alternative, if you are an Intuitive Writing Studio member, that's either the $99 a month tier or the $199 a month tier, where you get some async feedback on your writing. You get this as a bonus. So I look forward to seeing you at my counter and hearing what you think about the writing and what it is sparking in you. Thank you so much for being here.